question to ask you guys after you introduce yourselves.
Oh.
It's about cheese.
Okay, fine. Cheese. I can do cheese.
Cheese?
It's about cheese, yeah.
Oh, cheese. Okay.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of the Semrush webinar series, Show Me the Links. I am your host, Julie Joyce from Linkfish Media, and today we have a really cool episode that's all about local. So we're going to talk about getting local links, reviews, linkable assets for local businesses, and I have Giselle Navarro, who's been here several times before from Neo Mom, and a first-time guest, Claire Carlisle, who has her own marketing company. So I appreciate you both being with us today. We've got tons and tons of great stuff to talk about, loads of questions. I've got notes everywhere for this. So if I could turn it over, Claire, would you introduce yourselves and just tell everybody a little bit about what you do, just your background, where you are, all of that?
Okay. I'm Claire Carlisle, and I run Claire Carlisle Marketing. So I work with small and medium-sized businesses to help them do better at digital marketing. And I live in Pembrokeshire in Wales.
It's beautiful there. I'll say Giselle and Claire and I had a lovely vacation in June. So we had our families all together for a week. So where she lives is truly one of the most gorgeous places I've ever seen. You're very lucky.
It is.
You can come and visit anytime.
I'm coming now. I'm coming back.
Okay, come on then.
All right, Giselle.
Yes, so my name is Giselle. I am the operations director at Neomam Studios. At Neomam, we do one thing. We create content that people want to share and that people are going to be linking to. So that's my specialty.
Right. And you do it very well. I've seen some of the last stuff you guys have done.
That's sweet. Thank you.
It's amazing, and I'm like so impressed, but then it irritates me. I think about some of the stuff I'm doing, and I'm like, look at what she's doing. It's great.
Yeah, but it's, I sometimes look at other things and I'm like, oh, imagine how great now having to do all this.
Well, Jason has asked a lot of questions. I'm going to not keep him waiting. And I was going to start with the cheese question, but he's asking you about your bass, Giselle. And I know you're a bass player.
Yeah, so
what is your
what is my bass? Yeah, so it's a jazz bass. I don't know if you can see it. It's there. I leave it out not because I play that much, but because my son really likes it. So I try every day to play a little bit for him or play with him. And yeah, that's my bass. It doesn't have a name. I never name my basses. So.
Well, what's your favorite cheese? Claire, let's go with you with this one. Everybody's dying to know this.
I have to give a local shout out then to Carvi Cheddar, made by just up the road by my friend Linda, who is a cheesemaker of more than average skill.
Oh, nice. What about you, Giselle? You have a favorite cheese?
I do, and I don't know if it exists outside of Argentina. Mm-hmm. It's called Fimbo. That's the name of the type of cheese, not a brand. So they have Fimbo and Dambo, and I like both of them. They're kind of like a hard Port Salut type cheese. Mm-hmm. So nice. I miss it.
That's
so
cool. I like the really boring ones like Swiss and Provolone. I know everybody's been waiting for that one. Okay, well, first of all, before we get started, I also wanted to mention something cool that Semrush is doing. On October 29th, they're going to do a live stream of a 24-hour conference. And you can find that at globalmarketingday.com. And they've been tweeting about it. So it looks like a pretty cool thing if you want to see some speakers and you don't have time to actually get to a conference. All right, now I'm going to jump in. As I said, we're talking about everything local. So just if one of you could define what we mean by local for the purpose of this webinar. Claire, do you want to take that one? Just so everybody knows what we're talking about.
Yeah, so when I think about local, when I talk about local, so it's businesses with an actual bricks and mortar location, or they serve customers at their location within a specific location, so service area business.
Right. And I know you've worked with other bigger brands, but your focus now is mainly on local clients. Is that correct?
Yeah. So small and medium-sized businesses that are not necessarily always local to me. Lots of them are, but they have an actual local presence.
Right. How do you like it? I mean, do you like doing local work better?
I think I understand it a lot better than the little bit of work that I've done with sort of more international brands. And I think because it's small businesses, local businesses, you get to be a bit more of a all-round marketer for someone rather than just a tiny cog that's not being particularly effective.
Right.
Thank you for that.
The rest of us just kind of build links.
Yeah, great.
So that's why we have Claire on here, because she does, get to do a lot of cool stuff. And I thought about it when we were on the holiday, because we talked about reviews a lot and we made a lot of jokes. Like every time we go out to eat, we'd make a joke about we need to give a review and we'd laugh. But it really made me think about how, reviews are so important for local businesses. And I mean, that's how I found, several things locally. I don't go and just like search Google. I read the reviews and that's how I do it. So that's, we've got Claire here for the all around local expertise. And I wanted to touch on the rel no-follow stuff, the rel attributes that have been much talked about over the past few days. Now we have like the rel equals sponsored and the user generated content. Is that going to change anything with how either of you work? You plan on, no? I mean, it's not for me either. And see, I guess that's why it's funny to me, because I didn't see a lot of link builders talking about it. It was mostly people that don't really deal with links, and they were all up in arms about all of this. As they said, no follow was supposedly a directive. Now it will be a hint. And I know my friend Tony Randall always has said he thinks it's a hint anyway, that no follow could, help rankings. Now they've said, definitely could. So I guess for me, that's good, because maybe clients will like no follows a little more. But, it's not changing the way I work. I didn't know if it was for either of you.
It's the same for me. I think, well, if you've been building any links from press, national press in the UK particularly, you've been dealing with nofollow for a while. But then if you also do your tests, you see that actually the value of a link is still there. So I think that's why probably many link builders were like, yeah, we knew that.
Right.
Thanks. I guess with one of the things I tweeted about it, I was replying to Paddy Mugan, who was wondering whether these attributes would be adopted at all. And I think that they will be, particularly the user-generated content. It's so easy to implement it. Like even Yoast said that they were going to do it like in a day. So I think that's something that would probably very easily be implemented. Sponsored one, I guess it would be a great piece of information to give to Google. I think publishers probably are going to look into this. Maybe even both, because journalists, magazines, newspapers, they have sponsored content, so they might even think, oh yeah, this is the way it's supposed to be done because Google said so. So I can see it being used, and maybe it definitely is necessary. The moment that people start blanket no following everything, then the value of no follow was kind of reduced to it could be anything, right?
Right.
So that's not too bothered.
Right. Claire, is it going to change anything for you?
I think it's never been something that I've looked at or reported on. And I think working with the types of clients that I work with, when it comes to links, it's more looking at does it drive traffic, and does it drive the sort of traffic that does the things that you need it to do? So I haven't, it's not going to affect anything that I do.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll dive right into the reviews, actually. That's the first section I've got. So what are some ways that small businesses can get reviews? Claire, do you want to start with that one, since I was just making all the jokes about everything we said about reviews?
I think asking for them is a good start. And I think being worthy of getting excellent reviews is something to think about as well. Right.
And how do you recommend people? I mean, how would they ask? Do you think they should just, as you're leaving a restaurant, say, hey, give us a Google review? Should they email them? Like I've seen some come through on, I think it was my veterinarian. the receipt came through and it was like, like us, give us a review on Google.
Yeah. I think it depends on the business, but there's so many different ways. It could be a verbal prompt. It could be a visual prompt. It could be printed, on the bottom of a receipt. It could be on a poster somewhere. And then a lot of businesses will choose to use, some sort of software that they can use to email people, like post-purchase or post-service provision, depending on the scale of what it is. But there's so many different ways to ask for reviews.
Right. Could you offer a discount? What do you think about that? Like, can you offer a discount or give something free for a review? Do you think that's a good idea?
Yeah, generally, not incentivizing reviews is probably the best idea, and then you don't fall foul of any review platform that doesn't allow you to incentivize reviews, which is most. And I think I don't work with Yelp. I understand that you're not even allowed to ask for them. I think that's right. Okay. on that platform, but don't incentivize them beyond prompting people.
Right. Okay. Giselle, did you have anything to add to any of that?
No, I mean, I really like, as a customer, I really like when they make it easy for me. So yeah. I'm really likely to give reviews when I get an email after, for example, I go get my haircut and it says, "Oh, thanks so much for your haircut. Did you enjoy it?" And I might say, "Yes, it was great. Do you have any words for the hairdresser? Yeah, whatever, something. Would you mind sharing this on Google with one click?"
Right.
Yeah, that's great.
Easy.
Exactly. So I think anything we can do to make it easy, it's good. And as Claire was saying, there's something quite special about the face-to-face request.
Right.
You wouldn't do it if you have just provided terrible service. So you have to be very good at what you're doing to feel comfortable to say, "Would you mind leaving a review?" But actually, I think probably every single time I got asked, I did it, because it was honestly like we were in such a good place with whoever it was on the other end who said, "Oh, would you mind? It would be really important." So I think if you provide a really good service or you have a really good product, asking in person, in face to face, there's nothing wrong with that. So you might as well just do it.
That's a really good point, because like you said, if you've been a terrible waitress, you're probably not going to go, "Hey, go give me a Google review, for this restaurant," because they might say something negative. So I guess in that way, it can kind of encourage people just to do a better job. But also, I guess now I do because of Claire saying, "Give them a review." But I don't always think about things like that unless something spectacular happens. If I'm just having a normally, good experience somewhere, I'm not thinking, "Oh, I need to go give them a review." But I've been trying to do better. So next question, what impact can just a couple of negative reviews have on a small business? Claire, would you like to start that one?
Yeah, well, so a negative review for a small business, aside from the emotional damage that it causes for the person, because it's not I'm not saying don't give bad reviews, but if it's a small business, often you're commenting so personally. So I think that's but negatively, a small business can feel it in their heart. But if they're say, for example, you're thinking about Google as a platform, and they have 2 bad reviews and they've only got 5 reviews, then obviously that's going to look pretty bad. But if you've got 1,000 reviews and a few bad reviews, then in terms of your overall star rating and the assessment that someone would make of your business reading those reviews is much less. So it depends on it depends on the volume of your reviews, I would say.
Right. What do you think, what would you advise that a business do if they get a bad review? Do you think they should always address it?
Yeah, I think breathe deeply to start off with, so you don't take it personally. So you can sit back and work out, what truth there is. And then remember, when you're writing a response to a review, that you're not just to the person who left a bad review, you're writing a response that people will use to judge, you as a business moving forward. So if you have that in your mind, so, and not being snarky and, just trying to be good and professional and honest. And so you look like the good person that you are, I think is important.
Right. Because I have seen a lot of, it's kind of funny to me, I guess, when I see people responding to very negative reviews and they get very nasty. But I know it's horrible and I wouldn't want to do that. Sometimes it's kind of funny though. But it's terrible. It can just be amusing, the things that people say. Do you think people should respond to their good reviews also? And either of you are welcome to answer that. I think if you got 100 reviews and somebody said great service, you don't necessarily need to go behind each one and go, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. But if somebody gives you like a really, really glowing review, do you think businesses should respond to those too?
Yeah, it depends on your internal resource really, but I just think that it's important to respond to reviews. And if you take the example of Google in GMB, then your interaction with that review and your response is almost like an engagement signal. So I would probably take the time to, craft something that is at least not a boilerplate. Thank you, but I'm glad you enjoyed the fish. Come and stay with us again. Too much butter. I'm sorry. That type of thing.
Well, I have a question about fake reviews, but I noticed when I was mentioning my veterinarian and I was looking at her reviews, and she had a really nasty one from a guy who basically went on to act like she had tried to kill his dog. And her response, he says in it basically, you tried to kill my dog, you're wrong about everything. And then he goes, but this vet is really good. I recommend this vet. And she responds, she was like, you don't appear to actually be a customer. We haven't treated, and it, just looked to me like that was just a fake review, because they were immediately recommending somebody else. So do you see a lot of fake reviews? And if you are a business and you have some that you think are fake, what would you do about that? Claire, do you want to ask?
I'm letting you, because you're the queen of reviews.
Give you a break in a minute.
If it's a review for you as a business, so it's a fake review, like being negative about your business, or someone has made a review of your business and maybe they thought it was someone else, so you can flag that within Google My Business itself. And then if it's if you're concerned about, because reviews are a ranking factor, so if you're concerned about your competitors having fake reviews and you want to report that, then you need to be clear that those reviews are contravening the terms of service for reviews. And then you can flag it, but also it's generally, I think it's recommended that you report that within the Google My Business forum. And I don't know if we can bookmark links and stuff after this, but I know that, where was that? That there was a really good, Joy Hawkins wrote a really good thread in the forum called How to Properly Report Spam on the Google My Business forum. So that I would read that, and then you can follow those instructions and report those spammy reviews.
Okay. There's a cool question in the chat, and somebody says, I've had a client specifically given me a 4-star review with a reasoning she didn't want it to come across as fake. How would you respond to something like that? And I had that happen to a neighbor who is a mystery writer, and she wrote a novel, and all of us in the neighborhood read it. I gave her 5 stars because I thought it was great, but I love her also. And then one neighbor gave her 4 stars, and she had the same rationale. She was like, well, I thought it would be genuine. It's not War and Peace. So she didn't feel like it deserved 5 stars. So what would you think about something like that? How would you respond to that?
With someone that had given a 4-star but secretly loved you with all their heart and soul, but didn't
want it to look fake.
What can you say to that?
Crazy, but what can you say? I don't think that if a 5-star review looks fake, and people shouldn't be afraid to give a 5-star review. It
doesn't look fake at all. But it's like the reviews that we were looking at that were like best day out ever, excellent value for money, would go again, 2 stars. It's like, what do we need to do to get a 3-star? What more can I give you?
So true. Okay, I think I've exhausted all of the review questions. So Claire, you can rest for a little bit. Now we're going to start bothering Giselle.
Yay!
Yay!
So we're going to talk about content and building links now. First question, what are some good linkable assets that will help attract local links?
Oh, big one.
That's the big one.
Oh, well, I guess, so depending on the business, there's certain things that make sense for you to do. So just because something seems to be attracting local links somewhere doesn't mean that you should be doing it, because at some point somebody's going to start asking, why is a dentist creating a guide to the best restaurants in Tampa? But, for example, local guides are a great way of getting local links. So, you know, if you see from a point of, if you want to get local coverage within newspapers or even regional or even national, there's a hunger for this top 10, you know, top 10 best X in Solva. And if you find a way of using, you know, Google Trends to find granularity of how people have been searching within a certain state about something, and then you can use that to create a little study of sorts that has a local angle, then these are the most watched Netflix shows in, I don't know, every county of the UK, or within this county, these are the most cars, because I got some data from transportation that says so. So you can do that type of stuff. So trying to create these top 10 type things. But again, you know, just because it gets local links doesn't mean you have to do it. And if you're going to think about doing it, then think about what would be valuable for somebody who could be a customer. So not just go crazy just to get a local link, because that's relevant if the way you're getting it is irrelevant. I think there are certain things that I think are quite nice. Stacey McNaught. Sorry, Stacey. So Stacey McNaught, she's talked about this quite a bit, and then Jason Thibault, he also has, which is, you know, taking photos like locally in your area and putting them on Flickr, and having, you know, the choosing the right license in terms of how to get the common Creative Commons like attribution, so that anybody who uses that has to link back to your site. For a dentist, for example, you could do that for dentists. So if you want to get links from other dentists or any sites that had to do with dentistry, you could go and start taking really nice high-end photos of your, you know, or your utensils and the things you use, and seriously, like, you know, and you put them out there and you make them available to reuse as long as it's credit, and then suddenly you can get sites covering things that have to do with teeth, and even other dentists using those images for their own websites and things like that. And if you have a good process for tracking, you know, the usage of the images, and trying to do, you know, link reclamation and getting attribution requests and stuff like that, that's an easy way of consistently generating links that are going to be relevant. So if you want to do something that is locally relevant, you can focus on, for example, I live in New Mills, I could go out with my camera and take lots of photos of this area and make a really nice blog post saying, I love New Mills so much that I took 500 photos of it. And then putting all those photos on Flickr, getting the right license, and anybody who uses them, I go and chase until they give me a link. And then I get lots of links that are, you know, locally relevant in terms of the topic. And also, it's quite likely that the people are going to use those photos are going to be interested in New Mills in some way, and there's a big chance that it's because they live here. So I think stuff like that, it's not super expensive to do. and you can be creative with the way in which you do that. Other things you can do, you can have a resource page just for your area where you, depending on, again, let's say you're a restaurant, you might not want to go and start promoting your competitors, but when it's a small community in general, the idea of competition is not the same as in the natural way. You could, there's an underlying friendship that, whether it's real or not, I see it in the places I've been living that are small villages and everybody loves each other, whether they do or not, I don't know. But they seem to help each other or whatever. So you could go and say, right, so either you just do a roundup of the best restaurants in the area and then go and get in touch and say, hey, I've been featuring you on my roundup and stuff like that. Would you like to share it? And maybe they're just going to tweet it and that's the end of it. Potentially you could go even further and you could say, right, so this is all about food. So you could go and go deeper than just the restaurants and go for the cocktail bars and go for the different markets and the little organic shops and the farm shops. And again, all these people are people who are likely to have websites. So going back to them and saying, hey, I included you in my resource if you want to share it. It's like the typical type of link building, but then you just narrow it down to what you can do locally. Something else that's an asset on the page. I guess it's kind of tough when talking about like brick and mortar businesses, like Claire was saying, because it really, really, really depends. Some brick and mortar businesses don't have websites and they don't need links. They have a Google My Business listing and they're doing fine, or they might have a Facebook page and they're doing absolutely fine and they don't need a website. And that's fine, right? So I guess it's really important that as a business owner, small business owner, from a small business owner to another, I know that sometimes it gets hard and you just freak out and you need to get some sales and you need some people through the door and you might read online that you need links. Sometimes you don't, Sometimes there's other ways for you to create something of value that is going to show what you do and doesn't rely on having a website that is ranking or anything like that. So, I mean, there's lots of assets you can create, but again, do what's right for your business and what makes sense. And what, if the customers look at, is they're not going to think my dentist is crazy. I
don't want to think your dentist is crazy.
What's wrong with my dentist? So you don't want that. So, but I don't know. I don't know if there's anything else I could share that is valuable here. I mean, there's so many things you could do. There's a quite a great roundup of 50 local link building tactics somewhere here. I can drop it in the chat. If people want to have a look, it's created by a guy called Adam from Loganix, and there's so many things there. So I guess it's better than me going through 50.
Oh, that's good. Thanks for that. Adam is actually, I think Adam is on the next webinar.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah. So I really like the photo idea too, because I think that's something like so easy, and I'm always looking for photos to use in something. So
yeah, we all are. And there's so many bloggers, that are looking for photos, and people who are looking for photos for their websites just for a header,
Right.
So why wouldn't you try?
Right. Claire, do you have anything to add to that? I think that was an excellent answer. I can't add anything to that.
I think, I don't know if this has included people as linkable assets, because so often, like in like a small business that's owner operated, they just know their niche so well. So having them as someone that you can, give sound bites to or comment on things that are happening within the geographic area, and especially if you've got someone that can be quite vocal and have some comments. But I guess it's mostly brand as the linkable asset. So it's, it's being in your community and being a part of your community. But apart from those things, there's all the things that Giselle said, but I've had really good it's whether or not it's been done to death, but definitely within sort of location marketing and destination marketing, you know, having this idea that you can have resources on your website. So whether it's accommodation listings, attractions listing, you know, places to eat, things to do with kids, dog-friendly places, things to go, because people love a list. Yes. And they love a carefully curated list. So if you can put together a very sort of, not necessarily a zeitgeisty list, but something that really reflects the types of things that your target market are going to want to do and see and eat and experience, then I think that can be quite a linkable asset. Right.
That actually, there's a question in the chat too that kind of goes along with that. What about having local sites linked, but the site isn't relevant to my niche? Does that do any good? Like saying, if you're on a Tampa City forum, linking to a law firm. And I think it's kind of like what you're talking about. Like if you use the example of where you live, Claire, I think it would be natural if maybe one of the restaurants there had a list of, you know, places that were like where to go to do this, where to go to do that for people coming to Salva for the first time. So naturally, I mean, somebody coming over there might need a dentist. Hopefully they won't need
yeah.
It would be terrible actually, but yeah.
But I mean, I think it's perfectly okay if it's done in a natural way like that. Like I wouldn't think you would get local links that are totally irrelevant just for the purpose of it, but done well in a situation like if you're on vacation here are, you know, 5 things you might need to know and you link out. I think that's okay.
Yeah. Because there are 2 different things about, sorry.
No, go ahead.
There's 2 different things with relevancy, because there's topical relevancy, but then there's also local relevancy. So when you're talking about local links, sometimes it might not be exactly, you know, your niche, but it's relevant because it has local relevancy. So,
Yeah, what I was going to say is just that, you know, if it's a real link, it's a good link.
Right.
So, like the whole idea of, well, I don't want any links that don't, you know, they don't come directly from, like, good luck trying to get other dentists in your area to link to you. Like, if you want to try it, you should try it. But the honest truth is that you're probably going to get more, if, as you said, if you're a restaurant that has a page on activities with kids in the area, having a link there is so much more valuable, just because you might actually get some real people come to your business.
Right.
You know? So because you have those family-friendly things to do. So I guess that's what I like about local. I like how real it is. I think I always say how online and offline are the same thing. We kind of forget because we can game online a lot more.
Right.
But the truth is that they are the same thing. And when you go down to local as the 3rd tier of marketing, that's when you actually see how real it is, like how a review can actually hurt a business. Whereas in the great scheme of things, everybody's going out saying how terrible these new pair of trainers from Nike are, but that is not going to hurt Nike in any way. So I think it's the same with links. It's like, you know, a solid link that is real could actually pass a lot more value than just link juice.
Right.
And when you get too caught up in the link juice element, you might miss an opportunities that are way bigger than just a link.
Right. That's true. And Bill Slawski had a great comment on here that I wanted to read in case. I just think it's just talking about being an active community member where you're from, and you know, building positive relationships with people can lead to links, and it can just lead to all kinds of business anyway. So we kind of talked about that, but I think that really is an important point to think about because, like,
I think that.
Go ahead, Claire.
I think that local link building in general is all about relationships. So that's where community fits in. It's not just about schmoozing. It's who you know, but it's partly about, you know, being an active member and being a thought of member of that community. That you know, that you know, for me, that's what a lot of small business local marketing is about: relationships and making the most of relationships.
Right. So offline methods are, you know, pretty critical with local, I think.
Yeah, you can actually turn them to, you know, as a link builder. you can turn all that into links, you know. So
Right.
if there's, for example, where I live, there's 2 weeks a year, there's a big community festival, and everybody gets involved, everybody. And the festival is really old, so they have a great website, and anybody who gets involved, they get the chance to, you know, do an interview and get featured. And there's so many opportunities for not only getting your story there, but also getting a nice link. But
Right.
you don't start thinking about the link comes after. Where I guess that's when it's kind of different from maybe enterprise, where perhaps you start thinking with the linking first, and you're like, right, so how can I get this strategy going with this type of things? Whereas local is, how can I be a better business? How can I have a better service? How can I, you know, and that type of, it becomes a wheel. It's like a flywheel, and the more that you're involved with the community, the more that people are going to start recommending you. Word of mouth is massive. It's massive for enterprises, and it's way bigger for local businesses. And if you want to be a business 10 years from now, you know, you have to care about this stuff.
Right. Okay, good question from Simon. Is a link from any local business better than a national link, even if it's not in your area? That question.
I'd take both of those links. I'll take all of the links.
We'll have them all.
And then this about the ones like, no, not this one. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's hard with this stuff, because if we're honest, the only way we could say this is if we go out and we test. So we would need to just create 2 websites. One gets links from local businesses, other gets, you know, and then that's when we actually know. I don't know if anybody has really like tested it in such an isolated way.
Right.
But from a link building point of view, you know, any link of, if those 2 links are, again, they're real links, are they clean links? Did they happen in a non-sponsored, money leading way? I want both. If one of them was, I prefer the one that wasn't, even if that's the smallest one. So when you kind of push it down to be clean links and dirty links, it's way easier than when you start thinking, oh, well, local or the national or the regional that is, you know, relevant, or the industry that is paid, but it's, yeah.
Also, it depends how you're judging better. What does better mean? Because if you spend a lot of time in analytics, does it refer any traffic? Does that traffic do any of the things that you want that traffic to do? So, and if you're talking about getting local links, then getting a link from a local newspaper, I guess, ticks the local box more.
Right.
But I believe we'll go for both. Thank you. Both of those.
Take them all. Can you see? You can see the chat. I see Jeff Kennedy's asking a question that it's definitely not one I can answer, but it's interesting. Are you guys seeing that? About where Google wouldn't accept the correct format of a new business address. I just want to know how much of an issue is that? Are they able to join up minor inconsistencies?
I think it depends what the inconsistency was, because in the olden days, NAP consistency, like if you were a street, it needs to be street and not street. You know, this is what people used to say. But I think Google's clever enough to know that LTD for limited is the same as limited, and street is the same as street, and so it depends on the nature.
Right.
You know, if it wouldn't accept the correct format of a new business address,
kind of frozen up for me.
Difficult to know. Jeff, send me a message. Or someone that can answer it.
Claire, we seem to have lost you on video, but we can still hear you. I think, can everybody hear Claire? Giselle, can you hear her?
I can now, but I couldn't for a bit.
Okay. Well, I have a question about, while we wait on her, the skyscraper technique. And Giselle, are you familiar with that, I guess, where you just kind of find something, you try to make a better version, then you try to get all the links? What do you think about that? Would you recommend that for local businesses?
Yeah, I mean, anything, if you can find something that, again, that you have, first of all, if you have the resources, because it sounds beautiful
Mhm.
as a concept. Oh, just find something that is doing really well and then make it 10 times better. It's like, if you've never done that before, just knowing what 10 times better looks like,
Right.
it's hard. You can get lost. You can waste a lot of time. And again, I guess it's trying to outweigh the resource while you're going through it. When Brian recommends that, I'm guessing he's assuming that the person on the other end of the advice is ready to just build some amazing links or create some amazing assets that are going to build links for a long time to come until the next person does a skyscraper on your own stuff. Whereas if you're just a local business and out of nowhere you just see something and you think, I could make a better one of those, but you don't have a blog, first set up a blog. I think for certain stuff it depends on what your business is, but if you can create one and make something that is potentially maybe even a yearly thing you can re-release, or something that is going to become an asset that you can use throughout many years to come,
Right.
then it's definitely worth sitting down and trying to figure out what could that be. If you've seen a competitor having one, that's the easiest way to actually spot something that you want to make a better version of and steal all the links. But if you are in a sector where that, or you're looking at a competitor's websites and there's nothing that can spark an idea of what that skyscraper thing could be, and you can't even imagine where to start, there's other stuff you could do first.
Yeah, I agree. So I think it's a very simple idea. It makes so much sense to say just find something and do a better version of it. But, like going back to the dentist, if you had two dentists in Salva where Claire lives, I wouldn't think if one of them had something really cool, the other one should go and try to make that better and then steal all their links, because that's going to be a bad offline relationship, right? So I don't like that. Why are we talking about dentists?
I don't know. It could be. I guess the thing is that the reason why, I guess I'm not shutting the dream down. It's just that it's a good tactic, and you could go with it. Now, if you have lots of link brand mentions, that's where you should start, not with the skyscraper technique, because those are already there waiting for you. Whereas for skyscraper, first you have to identify it, then you have to make it, then you have to make it way better, and then you have to go and start contacting a lot of people who don't owe you anything to try to get them to change a link, and then you have to do more outreach on top of that. So it is a very long process, just for a small business, for a small business that is local, that is just a bakery on a corner,
Yeah.
So that's what I would say.
Yeah, their time might be better spent doing something else. Claire, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think it could be better spent. It comes down to internal resource or having the budget to get external resource to do it for you. But I think with, and Giselle has touched on this before, with small business websites, some of them aren't updated. I know this is going to shock you, but some of them aren't updated very often. I know. Would you believe it? So,
I don't.
I know. So it could be a remarkable resource that was, really useful a year ago for people, but they haven't touched it or updated it since. And especially with, small local businesses, they open and close. So you might have a resource which, talks about restaurants or things to do. I know I keep talking about the same things, but 3 of those don't exist anymore. So making a better resource, it does work and it is a good idea.
That's a very good point for that. Because a lot of stuff is outdated. So maybe that's just a good goal. Go look for something outdated instead of just trying to make better. That's a great point.
Or alternatively, because I didn't know about skyscraper technique, you could find something that's really useful or is well linked to and has been very popular, and then do a twist on it. So you could make it more for your niche or more of the age or more hinge around whatever the here in Wales, we Visit Wales has things like year of discovery, year of adventure. So you could sort of piggyback on someone else's marketing message and make a resource around that message that then is going to be popularized because that's that's a big thing to piggyback on.
Oh, that's cool. That's a very good point. Well, another question here: how can local businesses build links without creating content on their own websites? Anybody want to take that one? So, it'd be stuff like obviously kind of like what I do. I don't generally put a bunch of content on a client site and build links to it. I'm usually working with what they have. So what do you guys think about how to do that?
Sure. I've got one to start with is testimonials for links, which I really love. So when I start working with a client, we do a big interview about, where I find out about those is who do you buy from? Who do you work with those people, like for people that you want to give a testimonial to, the idea that you can offer them a testimonial, which they will then feature on their website with a nice picture of you talking about how well you met, how well, they as a service provider met your needs, then that's worked really well in the past.
It's a good idea. Giselle, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, that's a great idea. Something that we talked about before was, if you have any brand mentions that you can try to get a link to, and that's always something good to do. And it's easy and cheap and repeatable, and you can have it as an ongoing process that runs, all the time, just by setting an alert every time, and put maybe an alert for your, your brand name, and maybe also if there's a potential typo. We have it with Neoman, where some people call us Neoman, so we keep track of the people who call us Neoman,
right?
The URL, neoman.com, because sometimes people, they just say neoman.com, and you can just go and say, oh, hey, would it be possible to hyperlink that so people actually click and see. So that's like an easy thing to have going that doesn't require anything from you.
Right.
I think asking in terms of testimonials or anything that you can do in regards to the people you work with is great. I think asking your team, the people that work for you, if you have any, whether they have sites, because right now we all have a blog, we all have a site, and we all have an about us somewhere. So that's like an easy way of actually, getting some, even if it's 3 links, you didn't have 5 minutes ago, and it will take you nothing, so why not? I would say, without creating any content on your site, if you have, if there are any events you can sponsor or things like that in your area, you don't have to create any content. You can just go and put yourself forward for it. If there's, for example, if you are hiring and you hire within your interns, and there's a university nearby, then you can put yourself forward for them to add you. They normally will have like the go to these type of businesses for this type of role. It depends on the business whether you can do it or not. But it's looking into the things you're already doing. I mean, like, is there an opportunity here for me to get the word out somewhere about this? In the same vein, I think local media, they are very interested in stories about local people. So Claire mentioned people can be linkable assets, and they definitely can. Even if it's thinking about what do you have in your business that could be a story. Sometimes it's just a story of how you created your business. Sometimes it's just the possibility of just being interviewed, putting yourself forward, sending an email to whoever. If your local newspaper or your regional newspaper has a person that just interviews people, putting yourself forward, it's always worth it. If there is any, there might be local charters of businesses for what you do. Again, you know, if you're a member, you can be a member, you can get a link. Again, sometimes they do overviews or interviews with members. So again, that's something. Same thing if you're an alumni of some university, you can just reach out and say, hey, you know, I studied there and now I own my business. And that's like a great story for them to tell, because it's something for their students to look up to. So again, reaching out, getting your story out. You don't need to create content to do any of these things.
It's very true. Well, you had mentioned when you see a mention, like trying to turn that into a link. Do you have any advice for that for people?
I have a blog post.
I thought you might have something.
So my blog post is actually about being mentioned, getting your content shared. So for example, if it were to be a Flickr image, and trying to get attribution back to the content. So it's not the typical just clean cut brand mention. I can drop it in the chat. But just first of all, read where they mention you, just to make sure that it's not something that you don't want people to link to you.
Right.
So that's number one. And if it is, you know, somebody, for example, we rented a great boat in Italy last week, and we all came back saying that was such a great place. What can we do to help them? We left some reviews, and we also thought, well, you know, when we write about this experience we had and we mentioned the vote, then we link back to their website. Some people would do that and they're not going to link, and they're going to say how great this Nautica travel boating service was, and they're not going to link. And they would be happy to. So just reaching out, finding out if it's a blog, can you find the author? Is the name there? If their name is not there, do they have a contact page that you can reach out to? If you can't find any way of communicating online, if it's a small business, you can always call, get on the phone, ask, you know, is there anybody, can you point me in the direction of somebody who can help me with something I saw on your website? Going on LinkedIn, finding out do they have a marketing office, do they have somebody doing digital marketing for them, do they have a content manager, anybody you can directly reach out to and say, hey, thanks so much for mentioning us here. Would it be possible to link to our website so people can actually click and have a look at what we do? Thank people first.
Yes,
they need to mention you. Don't go like a ton of breaks saying like, link.
You didn't give me a link.
So mentioning people and thanking them is quite important. There are tools, you know, you can use Google Alerts. For setting up alerts, it's free. There are tools you can actually pay for. Just Google Alerts is absolutely fine. Sometimes reaching out through Facebook pages is actually quite easy. So instead of having to spend all this time trying to figure out who it was that did what, in most cases, if it's a small business, the person managing the Facebook is the person managing the website is the same person. So getting in touch in there and saying, hey, you know, my name is this, I saw this thing, thank you so much, who will be the best person to contact about this? And it's the easiest, most straightforward way of doing it.
That's good. I had a question from Jason earlier that I meant to get to. Sorry to jump around, but I just wanted to make sure I covered it because he did ask a few and I wanted to get something. Can we talk about some ways for a brand new local business to get some local links without a big budget?
I think we do. We have to draw the relationship card again. So, so really understanding all the opportunities in terms of, you know, who do you know? Who do your staff know? What's relevant within this context? And then, but just doing all the normal research like competitor backlink analysis. Take a look, who's linking to them, what's the context of that link? And some of my most interesting discussions with clients have been looking through competitor backlink, because I might not understand, but they understand the context of the link. It's something that I've not even seen. So they can see that either that is an opportunity for them or it isn't an opportunity for them, or that they can just sort of step sideways with that and say, we wouldn't be able to get that type of link, but we could use that context to apply it to this niche or this sector. So, but what's the question? Because it was a brand new
Right,
business?
right. And you don't, let's say brand new, you don't have a ton of money.
Yeah, so deep dive into understanding, the people and the relationships. And obviously there's loads of, all the free stuff that we've already said, which is testimonials, niche directories, your relationships, community events, industry specific sites. And also, I know it's a new business, but the biggest, one of the most successful and really good links that I've seen are businesses that then go on to target lots of sort of regional and local award ceremonies. So you get the kudos of winning the award, and you get all the marketing bants off the back of that, but you also get the links.
Right, very true. And I think, we had mentioned alerts. I think alerts are really a good way. You could keep an eye on your competitors. Like if you're new and you figure out what somebody else is doing, so you kind of have a blueprint. Not that you have to chase it necessarily, but it's a really easy way to have something emailed to you and you just go take a look at it. And Giselle mentioned Google alerts. I use Talkwalker alerts too, because I find some different stuff.
Yeah, I used to use Talkwalker. It was my thing. And now I just pay for tools. Something else that you can do. I mean, this is like people sometimes forget, which is crazy, but linking your social media profiles. That's kind of it's the number one thing you can do before anything. Like once you decided to launch a new business, then making sure everything is connected and everything is one. There are lots of places where you can get a link so you can create a Crunchbase profile. You can go to Yale and Yellow Pages, and there are things you can do from 0 to 10 links. The problem is those are links that are very easy to get, so everybody's going to get them. So they're not going to move the needle that much. Many of them are no follow, but now it's just a hit. So,
right. So that's good news.
Yeah, and then help a reporter out. If you have time, getting it set up so you get alerts when journalists are looking for stories or they're writing about things that they need expert input or commentary or anything that you can provide. Even if you're a new business, if you have the expertise, that's what they need. Of course, before you do that, I would recommend make sure to set up a really nice looking website and spotless social media so that they know you exist and you're a real business, or you're not just like somebody out of nowhere saying, "I promise you, I'm a dentist." But that's also a good thing to do.
Right. Bill had a cool question on here. Any guerrilla marketing ideas that you might have that would be outside of links for local businesses? So, and then Simon had a very cool idea: pay off the local youth to spray paint your domain around town. I think that's a very funny idea. But do you guys have any ideas off the top of your head for things that don't involve trying to build links for local businesses? Like, one thing, Claire, I'll quickly mention this. When we were on vacation with you and we went to the zoo place, Folly Farm, my daughter had a really cool giraffe experience, which was so much fun for her. So Claire set this up, and my daughter, she got to feed a giraffe, which was like the most amazing thing ever. And some of the staff came out. They had a trained guy there talking us through it. They had somebody come out and videotape it, and they put it on Instagram. And they did this really cool thing. It was like a 20-minute experience, but they sped it up. So it was like this 30-second little whiz through, which I thought, not necessarily guerrilla marketing idea, but I like it when local businesses do cool little things like that.
Yeah. Well, it's easy. They have got very unique, obviously it's a unique experience, but I think, in terms of that is making the most of your assets, isn't it?
Right.
Is like, so I get guerrilla marketing ideas coming. No, but yes, Folly Farm and giraffe. Yes. Obviously, just have an amazing product or service that people think is amazing. That's always a winner. But repurposing that content and those stories across all these different channels is useful.
I think every community has artists, and maybe pairing them with them and doing something special. The type of I woke up in the morning and there were all these crochet like trees covered everywhere.
Yeah.
Like yarn bombs.
Yeah.
And it was a combination of different people who did it, but there were businesses behind that. And you know, that type of stuff, you could try to make it super relevant to you, and tomorrow there's all these statues of big teeth everywhere because you're a dentist, and it's gonna get people talking, you know. I think it's always the thing with guerrilla marketing is like it's a bit scary as well because you don't want to get in trouble. So finding out whether you would get in trouble probably would be good. Maybe if you do get in trouble, actually that's gonna give you press. So who knows?
Try to get a link from that article.
But I think looking into, you know, artists in your area and see what they do, I think it's an easy thing that is actually you can replicate across different industries. So it's not just for this type of business, and it could be quite special.
Yeah, definitely.
So I just thought of an example that sort of fits in with Bill and with Simon's comment, which is we have an artist here who's a sand artist. So he creates massive sand, not a sculpture, but he writes messages and makes patterns in the sand, strangely enough. So he's a sand artist. So and he's collaborated with various organizations who have come up with big pieces of art that then he has produced, which have become, you know, obviously much photographed because guerrilla marketing, surprise and unconventional interactions. So you've got all those people that are walking the coast path, taking photos of that, and it's being covered in the press. Obviously, then you've got those assets that business can then use, you know, as far as possible. So that's quite a nice little local stunt that we've had here. Obviously, that's not everyone can make a sand sculpture, but
that's a great idea.
Yeah,
it's a great idea. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time. We have already been an hour. I always say this, I know, we're like, we have so many more questions that we didn't get to. So maybe we'll have to do a follow-up at some point.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, I think it would, because we got a lot of good questions. You guys were awesome. And I would like to really thank everybody for the questions they've asked. I know we have a lot of viewers that are always at the webinars, and we really, really appreciate that. I really appreciate everybody taking the time, and I appreciate you two taking your time. I know it's only, you know, 1 o'clock for me, but you guys are at 6 o'clock now. So thank you very much. And I know you both are extremely nice and helpful. So if anybody has any questions for you, I'm sure you will let them ask you on Twitter. That's okay. Same goes for me. But
thank you.
Thank you very much. And the next episode, I can't remember the date right offhand, but we have Shannon McKirk and Adam Steele, I guess, from Loganic. So should be a good one. We'll see you guys all later. Thanks for joining us. Bye.